And now a word from our official sponsor. Have you ever wanted to launch your own podcast without the hassle of knowing everything you need to record, edit, produce, and distribute your own show to your audience? How about a convenient space for you and your friends to collaborate? The answer to these questions and more is Indie Podlab, INDY Podlab. I chose Indie Podlab for my podcasts. Call Indie Podlab today at area code 805-708-6855. Again, that's 805-708-6855, or send an email to indiepodlab@gmail.com. Again, that's indiepodlab@gmail.com. To book your initial session, please let them know that Brent Foster at Foster and Friends sent you to receive a special offer. Indie Podlab is headquartered near a convenient intersection of 465 and Meridian in Indianapolis, Indiana.
But I'm still energized.
You're still energized. Yeah.
Which is nice.
So coffee or tea? Interesting.
Although, I almost can't. I had coffee and I was like, oh, I missed your coffee. But Earl Grey?
Earl Grey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the most caffeine.
Earl Grey does?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as far as teas that I know. I'm sure there's other teas out there that are like more potent. Psilocybin tea.
Ooh. Yeah.
I don't know if it has caffeine, but it's got stuff.
Coffee, tea.
Ayahuasca.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm gonna put this right here. Make sure.
Yeah, and I literally just wrote stuff.
No, I love what you wrote,
without
man.
like a
Yeah.
formula or anything. So.
Exactly. No, and that's what you're supposed to do. And I put literally that there to keep it from vibrating.
I think that was perfect.
Yeah, it's actually a mouse pad.
Oh.
All right. So the way that you wrote everything on here was awesome, man.
I tried to write it like a talk, so it would be kind of easier.
Conversational,
Yeah.
yeah. And I can edit this out. I can edit pretty much anything. So we're all set.
Long pauses.
Long pauses. My ums. I do a lot of ums. Or
Oh yeah, that sounds like
How many times do you say like, and pause?
Yeah.
So I literally
Cough off mic.
I think we're good. All right, so I do want to ask you about how's your bracket going? You don't have one.
I don't have one.
There's no bracket. Well, mine got blown up last night. It just started. So yeah. So it was like Nora filled out her bracket. I was late to filling out mine. I was like filling out my March Madness bracket like for. See, there's those likes, but who cares?
They don't matter. Those are just
yeah.
edited.
Right.
Edited
four games in, and I'm like, well, babe, I'm not going to get points for those, but I just need to ride them in before all the other games are ongoing. There's like 7 games at one time, and so I was like quickly picking my teams, and I'm already like, man, I'm just kind of going with the rankings because I don't really know anymore. I'm like old man status. I'm not engaged in the basketball like I used to be, but I love the sport, and this is like the best time of year.
Oh yeah, I mean,
awesome.
They were talking about it at the event I was at this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all these like basketball geeks are all getting together. And I'm like, I have no idea what y'all are talking about. I don't know who that player is.
Right.
I haven't watched basketball in probably 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, no, I take that back because we had done a different event before that was all about March Madness.
Right.
Called it
March.
So that we wouldn't get sued.
Yeah.
NCAA.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't use our name.
You can't use the logo. You can't do this. And
March Mayhem. I love it.
But it was fun. But that was the first time I'd ever filled out a bracket was doing that. And
right.
I literally did it off of like team colors.
You know what?
Like,
though?
what color do I like the most out of the two that are playing? That's
Right.
the one that I'm gonna pick. And some people, they were like, that's actually not a bad thing, because some lady that was there, she was like, I actually did that once and I won like $500 in a pool. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty sweet.
it's feasible. It's understandable. It's like picking stocks a lot of times. Like,
just go by color.
Yeah.
Stay
Let's
away
see.
from red lines.
Get a chimpanzee to throw a dart at a dartboard with a bunch of stock names on it, and they do better than the professional money managers. So yeah,
But hey,
not
money managers, they went to college.
You know what they did, and they've got degrees out the wazoo, and they make a lot of money. And
Don't disparage your own kind.
exactly. Well, I can, because I'm in it. When you're in part of some group of people, you can kind of say some things that other people on the outside maybe can't.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Like Army guys can always make fun of Marines, and
Right.
Marines can always make fun of Army.
Yeah, but then when a civilian dude's making fun of both,
that doesn't fly.
That does not fly. No, you will. You will fight.
Face hammered by both.
Face the repercussions on that one.
Hey, you stay away from my Marine.
Right,
Only
exactly.
I can give them crayons.
That's right. That's right. All right, so let's dive in. I think we've got the mics set. I think we're all good to go. But welcome to the Foster and Friends show. My name is Brent Foster, and I am here interviewing one of my very good friends, Tom Marquell.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And I've been on a bit of a sabbatical with Foster and Friends. There was some stuff that happened in my family last year, so I kind of put it on pause, and now I'm kicking it off again with you. So this will be a lot of fun.
I am honored.
Yeah,
goodness sakes.
For being on the show, what I do is I always give a gift to whoever I'm interviewing, because it's just a bribe. Get people to come on.
You gotta have something.
Yeah, I mean, friends.
I didn't drive all this way for nothing.
So these are like the equivalent to Pro V1s, but Vice Golf. Actually, they're branded. I've got some branding on there, Northbound Health, Northbound Wealth Management. So yeah, we had a golf outing, and I thought, I'll just give you a whole thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My goodness, and I did not know this before I agreed to do that. So that's like a nice perk.
Yes.
It's like I'm gonna lose all of these at some point this summer.
Oh, for sure. Like in the first, it would be for me like the first 18. I would that whole thing would be gone. So enjoy your adventures on the course.
I'll be happy to slice all of those into the
Right.
woodbine. It'll be great.
Totally. And so something that also I normally will do is offer up bourbon, wine, or something like that of that nature. But because Tom and I are going to be going through Fight Club starting tonight at 11 to 2 in the morning.
It's gonna be a fun-filled day.
It will. And for those of you who don't know, I've interviewed Bob Loy and Matt Zappizzotti, Fight Club guys, on the Foster and Friends show. So check out some of those previous episodes. You'll learn all about it. And if you're interested in Fight Club, you can go out to, I think it's www.fc414.club and check out the 10-week program that a bunch of guys go through, where you're not drinking and you're challenging yourself in many areas of your life, and it's emotional, spiritual, relational, physical, and mental. Which is all of it is mental.
So it's kind of like you find yourself in week 3. You're like, this is when the mental challenge really starts kicking in.
That's right. And because I didn't want to be a stumbling block to my brother and give him a bottle of nice, Hotel Tango veteran bourbon, that's what I was gonna do. But I refrained, and I'll just deliver that at the end of the 10 weeks if we graduate, which I'm prayerful that we will. I think we will. Yeah, I think 60%, 70% of the guys graduate. So check it out if you don't know about it. I would love to see you there. Okay, so who is Tom Marquell? Well, besides my friend, and I love this guy a lot.
Question.
Yeah, so I'll just go over this. He's a husband, father of 3, Christ follower, taxpayer, which I love, community contributor, Army vet, Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2008 through 2009, higher education professional in Central Indiana, business development professional, Chamber of Commerce Director of Operations in what city?
Noblesville,
Indiana. My man, just up the street. and over from where I'm at.
The only place to be.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place, and I'm looking forward to becoming a chamber member here soon.
Oh, sweet.
So I've
Nice.
decided I need to do
You got some
that.
forms here that I'll need you to fill out.
Okay.
Blood sample. Things.
Really? Hopefully it's not. No, I'm just kidding. That'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait to network with some of the people and the businesses in that community, and I'm really stoked about that. So, well, the first kind of thing I'll dive into is Tom and we met. How did we meet? Go ahead.
Well, I
Start.
remember getting a text. I was at work. It was, I believe, a Friday. Yeah, it was Friday because it was the night of kickoff.
Yes.
And it was around 4 o'clock or so.
Yes.
And I'm driving somewhere from a meeting, and all of a sudden my phone buzzes. I look down, and it's an unknown number. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll get to that. So I look at the text, I read it, and I'm like, hey, I'm Brent. My daughter goes to school with your son.
Yes.
I'm Nora's husband.
That's right.
And Nora and your wife have been talking, and you've got to be at this thing tonight. And I just wanted to invite you to it. You got to be there. It's going to be great. And I'm like, so I call my wife. I'm like, hey, what do we got going on tonight?
Right.
I'm been invited to go out with Brent. I don't know what's going on, but
Mm-hmm.
could be a good time. Do I need to be home at a certain time? What are our plans so I can see if I can even make this happen? And so she's like, well, we don't really have anything going on. So I was like, okay, cool. So I texted you back, and I'm like, hey, I don't have any plans tonight. What's the plan?
Right.
And then your response was like, well, we're gonna be we'll meet up at 11.
That's right.
At the field house.
Right.
And I was like, 11 p.m. tonight?
Yes.
Because I was like, wait, it's 4 p.m. now. Is he getting his days mixed up? And we're going to do something Saturday at 11 o'clock. It's just like a brunch thing. We're going to go have lunch. I was like, I'm all in for that.
Right.
But then you're like, yeah, 11 p.m. It's going to be really awesome. Dude, you just have to check this out. You have to be there. And then you told me about Fight Club a little bit. Like,
barely.
Not even a teaser worth of Fight
Other
Club.
than we don't talk about it.
Yeah. I was like, wait, am I going to be fighting somebody tonight? And
yes,
I did fight someone.
You totally did.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
So mostly me.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly in my head, like,
I totally
what am
love
I
it.
doing?
The setup. For those of you who do know me, that's what I do. Yeah, I was definitely tricking Tom into going to Fight Club. So
but in the best of ways.
No, totally. Yeah. I've asked over 100 guys to go. I know, and and there's been some that say yes, and others that maybe it takes them a couple of years to do it, to actually do it and stuff. So I'm really excited for this next round tonight, and I'm glad that was like an icebreaker for us to meet because our wives had already met, and so it was really neat to kind of get our families together and then go through something together. And that's right up our alley when you're in the trenches or in the foxholes with other people, and you're doing life together. It makes it just that much more valuable and meaningful to life, and it adds value to life. It's just so cool.
When you're when you're facing any type of challenge, you go it alone, you can only go so far.
Right.
It's like when you're running for distance. Like if you're running solo, you can run the distance. You might not do it very well though. You're going to be more prone to slow up, more slack. You might jog a little bit or start walking for a little while. Be like, it's fine. But if you've got somebody with you and you're running together, you play off of each other, whether that's competition or whether that's just camaraderie of just being in the same pain and having the same goals in mind. Like, oh man, my knees are aching, but dang it, so are yours, and you're still running. So I'm going to keep running.
That's right.
So it just all comes together in this, then cross the finish line with more people.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. And I love it too. So that's how we met. So the next
sight unseen, standing there in the field house by myself. I showed up early. So I was like, I had nothing else going on. So I walk in and they're like, oh, do you need a leadership shirt? And I was like, I'm not leading anything. I was like, I'm here. This is my first time. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to walk in laps around this basketball court, and I hope that Brent knows what I look like, because I sure as heck don't know what he looks like.
It was that much of a blind date, literally. Yeah, the rest is history. So it was awesome. So parlaying into more about you. So let's get into your story. And you got a fascinating one, and I love it. And so how were you, like, where were you born and raised?
So I was born in North Carolina. So
North Carolina.
North Carolina. I'm a Southern belle. And so yeah, my parents were both Marines, so they were stationed in Cape Lejeune at the time. Yeah. And so I was born there in Jacksonville and at a Navy hospital. And then I think probably like 9 months to a year after that, both my parents were then got out of the military. My mother used my birth to be like, all right, I'm done with this. And then my dad was like, okay, she's done with it. I'm done with it too. So they both got out, and my dad and mom, they decided to move to Indiana. That's where my father was from. So I grew up in a little place called DeSoto, just north of Muncie, Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah. At least for a few years in Muncie, then we moved to a little town called Iraqi. Yeah. Which is just as small as DeSoto.
Gotcha.
Barely a blip on a map.
Wow. So those of you who aren't from Indiana or the Midwest, that's central Indiana.
Yeah.
So just geographically, I'd say that just so the West Coasters out there know where that's at.
Yeah.
Got it.
East Central Indiana.
Yeah, it's not like Chicago or suburb or something. It's East Central.
No, it's rural.
Rural. Yeah.
It's so rural.
Yeah.
Like maybe a town of 900 to 1,200 people.
Nice.
Everybody knew everybody.
Nice.
I don't know. There's probably maybe 20 people there today.
So not a growing population?
No, not at all. It wasn't even growing when I was there. My goodness sakes. I think I went there maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Nice.
And it just looked like I walked into a post-apocalyptic, little downtrodden hillbilly town. It was so sad and depressing, but at the same time, I was like, man, I'm glad I live in Noblesville.
Oh yeah, and Noblesville, it's beautiful and awesome. So, where'd you go to high school?
So I didn't go to a traditional high school.
Okay.
I was one of those weird homeschooled kids. So yeah, which is surprising that I'm even able to carry on a conversation.
True.
Especially with a very technologically advanced setup that we have.
That's right.
It's like, oh my God, most homeschoolers would probably go into a shell and have a panic attack in the corner.
But not you, my man. You're bringing it. It's good.
I've come full circle.
It's good.
But no, yeah, because it was like post-Columbine era, high school.
Yeah.
Lots of bomb threats at the high school where I would have gone.
Yes.
And just my parents and the whole religious reasons and evolution and all the things being taught, it was just like, we just don't want our kids exposed to all of that.
Yeah, totally.
And so they were like, we're going to homeschool.
Yeah.
And it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
I got to go to school in my PJs every day.
I see it. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were basically doing COVID in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't leave my house for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. That was it.
3 squares.
My home economics class was going to a grocery store and developing a budget for my family meal for a week.
That's awesome. So what about after high school? Then where'd you go?
So yeah, so I grew up, of course, having 2 Marine parents. You get exposed to some military traditions. They also had their medals hanging on the wall, and it was always something that I was like really interested in. So for me, I'd probably say like by the time I was like 8 or 9 years old, I was like, I want to be a soldier.
Yeah.
And at first started like, I want to be a Marine.
Yeah.
But then I started learning more about the Marine Corps, and I was like, well, I kind of like my personality.
Yeah.
No offense, Marines.
Yeah. You didn't want to be a bullet catcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No offense, Marines.
I didn't want to be in the Navy.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Pause.
Applause.
That was good.
Groans in the back of the
room. Oh, you can connect the dots with that one.
Yeah, but I always was fascinated with like U.S. Army Special Forces. So the stories from like the Vietnam War and kind of like the SOS in World War II and all those like super secretive, high speed, really, really cool things.
Yeah.
So at 17, I convinced my mom, and my mom was actually more easily convinced than my father that I should go in the military.
Really?
Yeah, which I was surprised because I was like, she's gonna have a lot of pushback on this. So I went to her when I was like, 16, like laying the groundwork. Like, I really think I'm gonna go in the military after high school. She's like, oh, that's fine. That's great. That's really worthy. That's something really good for you.
Yeah.
And my dad was like huge pushback because by the time I was like getting ready to graduate high school, it was post 9/11.
Yeah.
And it was February 22nd, 2007 when I went in.
Right.
But my initial contract was for 18 X-ray, which is, for those who aren't familiar with the military contract, it was like the pipeline that leads you straight to Special Forces selection.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
you go to basic training, you go to infantry school, you go to Ranger school.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, if you make it through that, then you get pushed onto the Special Forces selection process.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you make it through that, you go through the Q course, which is like a 2-year program with linguistic school and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get your Green Beret after all that's over. And then you're, the best of the best.
Right.
So that's what my original contract was for.
Okay.
But then I was like, I'm 17. I'm gonna wait till I'm 18, which totally just ticked off the recruiter because he worked really hard to get me into that. It wasn't like, I still feel bad about it. But anyway, So anyway, I missed that boat, and I ended up going in as a military policeman.
Gotcha. So MP.
Yep.
Okay.
Good old MP.
Yeah.
And that took me from. Well, at that point, we were living in Anderson, Indiana, because we started migrating towards the centraler parts where people speak it better, and they don't have so much southern twang.
I saw how you just did that.
Well, because a Hoosier is just somebody who ran out of gas from Kentucky on the way to Michigan.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an old standard. I have no idea where I heard it, but that's
really classic.
Yeah, I mean, because you get all types here.
I just love it.
So
right.
yeah,
I'll have to use that one.
Oh,
permission to use?
I don't think it's trademark.
No, so I don't owe you a royalty.
Yeah. Well, you're from Oregon, so
yeah, it doesn't.
Really.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it. It's not Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah, or whatever people say. Oregon.
I played the Oregon Trail a few days ago.
Yeah.
I was like sitting, I don't know, the kids had gone to bed, and I was just sitting on my computer doing some work, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to play the Oregon Trail. And actually, the Oregon tourism site, they have like the original Oregon Trail game, and I was like, oh yes! So I put all the kids in there, and Amanda broke her leg, and that's my wife, Amanda, and man, it was terrible.
Oh my gosh!
It's like just this horrendous
thing. You need to save her.
We ran out of food.
No.
I couldn't hunt because I couldn't remember what button to push.
Right.
It was crazy.
Man, I remember the Oregon Trail on those old Apple computers that were huge. And it was like the DOS system, but the screen was like
cool
this.
Cool Apple computers with the colored backs.
Well, I remember the films.
Oh,
the films at May Richardson Elementary in Central Point, Oregon. Back in the what was it? It was the early 90s, late 80s.
The 1900s?
Yeah, the 1900s.
That's my
your son, my daughter. We were born in the 1900s. Yeah. We tell our kids that. We were born ages ago. In antiquity,
because we've learned so much in our time on this earth.
That's right. Yeah, we were born last century, and they just go, "Wow, you're so old."
It's sad but true.
Yeah. So we're talking about your military and decisions to go there, and you do. And can you tell us, kind of pick up where you left off there, like going through that process?
Before the Oregon Trail?
Yeah, before the Oregon Trail. And the rabbit trail that, there are plenty of rabbits up in Muncie and Anderson and everything.
That's true, and squirrels.
Yeah.
Black squirrels, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Never seen one of those.
Oh, dude. Go up to Hartford City. They're everywhere.
Really?
It's like, man, they make a good...
It'd be fun.
I don't know why you look so different from everyone else, but you're kind of cute.
Sorry, those who love like Chippendale or Alvin.
Yeah, exactly. No. Not all squirrels look like them. Okay?
Yeah, right.
If only things were as easy as
interesting.
But yeah, so after I graduated, I went back to the recruiter office. Luckily, that recruiter who had helped me before had moved on to bigger and better things in the big army. And so I enlisted. Chose military police because, you know what, I want this to be my career, but if it doesn't work out for any reason, at least I'll have something to fall back on in the civilian world, some transferable skills.
Yes.
So I enlisted. I went to MEPS here in Indianapolis, took a bus to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Actually, it wasn't even a bus. It was like one of those Ram 1300 vans. It was like, oh, it was miserable. Just so terrible. We're not going to stop for 5 more miles, and it's been 30 miles on the road already, and like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I remember those vans. It was like 13-hour van trip to Georgia to play baseball.
Nice.
In the back, in the 8-passenger.
In the back seat of a Greyhound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so you did that.
Yep. So I went to basic, actually they call it OSIT, One Station Unit Training, in Fort Leonard Wood. That's where they have military police school. So I went through basic training, got there, and I think because of my, just my love of like all things military growing up, was that I was pretty well prepared for it.
Yeah.
And my dad trying to like talk me out of it. He would maybe do like a bunch of push-ups, and, like go drill sergeant on me.
Yeah.
And just try to like make it.
Are you
like,
sure you're cut out for this?
I'm gonna make it miserable now, so he changes his mind because I don't want my baby boy to go to war.
Yeah.
And
God
bless him.
Yeah.
I
get it.
I get it now that I have boys now. And I'm like, oh dang.
Yeah.
They come to me one day. How am I gonna handle that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a conversation for another time. But so I got there, but I was physically fit. I could run all day long. It was really great.
Yeah.
And they had this. So at the time, Brigadier General Quantock, which is now probably a 2-star, 3-star general now.
Yeah.
They were doing like this experimental program because in the war in Iraq, they were all prepping for the surge.
Okay.
This was in 2007. So we were like, we're going to send as many people over there as possible. It was in kind of the reconstruction phase, try to get, Al Qaeda and all the local terrorist cells and everything pushed out of kind of the major cities.
Right.
And so they were trying to find a way to fast track training for people who were kind of all ready to go. Right. So, not that I was ready at all, but I got the basic. No, I had a lot of learning to do. So I got there and I tested out for like graduation on the physical fitness test and scored really well on a written exam and a few other things. And they were like, we're going to put you in this fast track program. So instead of the 19 weeks of training, you're just going to do 15 weeks. Okay. And you're just going to bounce around from company to company to complete all of your training as quickly as possible.
Gotcha.
So I was taken out of my home company, Bravo Company 787, and put into this little squad of guys who were similar to me. So there was like 6 guys who got selected to go through this thing, and we had our own drill sergeants who were over us, plus our company drill sergeants. So not only would I be smoked or forced to do manual PT for people's mistakes by my drill sergeants, but then I had my company drill sergeants. So when I would come back to my company at the end of the day, I would see my platoon like out in the smoke pit, which is not like smoking cigarettes, but like this big pit of just torn up tires that they use on playgrounds today. Yeah. Just like low crawling, going back and forth. And I was like, oh crap, now I have to join them. So
oh my gosh.
I got double PT'd.
Nice.
Which was fantastic at the time, but it does take its toll.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, I went through graduation, went through MP school. And then I got the mother of all assignments.
Which was?
I was going to be stationed in Hawaii.
Devastating.
I know. I was
devastating.
like, oh, dang it.
You had to really pray a lot about that one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I, like, I don't know. This is what I feared the most. I know. That I would go and spend my first enlistment
in paradise. Going, oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I found out because a lot of, so you find out like probably like 2 weeks before like graduation, like where you're going to go. And so my drill sergeant would not tell me. He was like, I'm not going to tell you where you're going. So I was like, oh, crap. Well, I really want to know. You're telling everybody else, hey, you're going to Fort Polk, or you're going over here, you're going to Campbell. Yeah. Where am I going? He's like, don't worry about it. You're going to go to Iraq. I was like, oh, well, I kind of figured that at some point. Sure. But my unit, where will they actually be stationed?
And they wouldn't tell you.
No, they wouldn't tell me. So I went to dental one day because it was a well-known secret that if you go to the dentist, if you ask them nicely, they have your orders, right? And where you were going to go to be stationed, they might tell you, right? So my dentist told me, he's like, "Oh, you're assigned to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii." I was like, "Hawaii?" Yeah. So I went back, and then my drill sergeant, of course, he knew everything about my life at that point, right? Where I had been that day, every moment of the day, and he was like, "Did you find out where you're going?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, you son of a..."
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, I really hate you.
Yeah.
I was like, I know,
Yeah.
Drill Sergeant. Thank you, Drill
Yeah,
Sergeant.
thank you, sir.
I'm
Yes,
just gonna go
sir.
to parade rest. Please don't make me do push-ups.
Yeah. Now you got a target on your back. This guy's going to Hawaii.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's funny because a lot of the other guys that was in that squad with me, they were all like National Guard or reservists, so they were just gonna go home.
Sure.
But I was like,
Yeah.
screw you guys. I'm gonna go hang out on the beach.
But Tom's got to embrace the suck.
Yes.
And the suck was Hawaii of all things.
Yeah, yeah. For at least a little bit of time.
I'm sure there was a lot of activity for you to do.
Oh, it was endless.
Endless
and that's the thing
activities.
that they didn't tell me about being a military police officer
Mhm.
is that, you know, yeah, we were a combat MP, so our main mission was kind of like, it'd be kind of equivalent to like Scout Cavalry
Okay.
when we were deployed. You know, we were training Iraqi police, but we would also do some combat missions with them from time to time. So we would go out and, you know, do cordon off an area and then teach them, go through them through houses and things like that.
Sure.
And that didn't really happen very often, thank God. But
Yeah.
when you're in garrison and at your base,
Right.
well, you're not sitting around just doing fun training. No, you're getting on a police uniform and you're going to be retrained, and then you're going to be working first, thirds, and second shifts for the time that you're at base. So have fun with that.
Yeah.
Which being it's just not fun.
No.
It's like
Doesn't sound like
it's like, why am I gonna? Because it's not like civilian law enforcement where, you know, you write a ticket, there are consequences. You have to pay the fine. You have to do that. In the military, no. When you write a ticket to somebody, that goes to their unit commander, and the commander is going to take that ticket, say, "Hey, dummy, don't speed on base." Crinkle it up, throw it in the trash can. No big deal.
Right.
I was like, so why am I writing these?
Right.
It's not making any difference.
Sure. Yeah, I see
I'm just
that.
gonna not waste my time with a bunch of paperwork that then I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hold my hand out the window and just, hey, slow down. I'm gonna flash my lights on, and I'm just gonna warn people. Like, hey, if I see you speed on base again, I will write a ticket. I will write a report. And I'm gonna waste 45 minutes of my life. These reports have to be perfect.
And 3 strikes and then you're my problem.
Yeah. 3 strikes, I'm gonna take you up the hill, and I'm just gonna kick you down it.
Right.
I'm gonna impound your car.
I'm gonna make you do push-ups.
Yeah.
give me 100 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, can you talk about your time in Hawaii in paradise? Just kidding. Because I know the story goes on from there, but just kind of take me from Hawaii to maybe a deployment, and then kind of that process, and then maybe talk about some failures, some successes through that.
Yeah. So when I first got to Hawaii, you know, I realized that there's a big difference between what I knew of the military and what military life was actually like. And so you're on this island, and then you're an island on an island because you're the new guy. You're the F&G, as we like to call them. And it's just like, I have my barracks room. I don't have a car.
That means you're the new guy, just for those who don't know what that is. That just means you're the guy at the bottom of the ladder, or the totem pole, if you will.
Well, the guy at the bottom of the totem pole is the most important because he's upholding everyone else.
Oh, you got to have strong back and shoulders for that, and legs.
Yeah, and my back is not that strong.
Right.
Like, that's something that I should have worked on a lot more. Instead of running so much, I should have done some core.
Yeah, some core.
Oh well, I'll get plenty of that tonight.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, I think we're gonna get in shape over the next 10 weeks.
Yes, which I'm kind of looking forward to. But no, luckily when I got to my unit, like there were some really good guys who had been there for like a couple of years. You know, they've been on the island, they've been on the unit for a while, and it was pretty easy to find a group that I fit with. And since I was kind of a decent soldier, it wasn't too hard of an acclimation period, and they were more apt to kind of take me under their wings and kind of show me the ropes. So eventually, got rides around the island, got to leave base every once in a while. So I got a chance to live a little bit, which was really great because there's nothing because in the military, you have your 5-day work week. Now, you're 24/7, 7 days a week, but you still get your weekends. So what do? Well, you gotta go down to the beach.
Right. Makes sense.
That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Every weekend. It seems like there is the North Shore of Oahu will never look the same.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, if you're on the North Shore and you find a pair of Ray-Bans, those probably were mine.
There might be a million of those.
It's a good place to shop for your sunglasses.
So there's some challenges with that. No, we can go through some of the failures and the successes of what you had to go through while you were in the military.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
that.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, we can take a look at this section here and take a moment to review that.
Yeah. So I think like one of the biggest, I won't say it was a failure, but probably one of the biggest regrets that I had is that I didn't take that initial contract.
Yeah.
And I say that with an asterisk because
the Green Beret one, right out the gate.
Yeah. Because that's really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because my dad, he told me before I shipped out, he was like, "Go be the man."
Right.
And that was really like,
that's awesome.
It was almost like a projection of his dreams when he was in the Marine Corps. Because he always wanted to go out for Marine Force recon, but he never got that opportunity. And it's something that he always kind of looked, I think, probably still kind of looks back on. It's kind of like, if only.
And that's life. Sometimes you're going for something and it just gets away from you. It slips out of your grasp, and you don't really understand why when it's happening.
Yeah.
Or even when you look back, sometimes you're like, man, I really wish that it would have been different. But do you?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
When you ask that question, it's like, do you really think about that? Like, maybe what's happening now is what's supposed to happen, and that's what God's kind of ordaining in that process. Is like,
oh yeah,
okay, maybe I was protecting you from yourself or something that you didn't even know could have happened.
Oh yeah, he was totally protecting me from myself. I can imagine.
Absolutely.
I mean, even as an MP, you can still go through all of that. You can still opt in if you pass the Special Forces Assessment and Selection. You can go. And after my deployment to Iraq, that was kind of the pathway I was setting up for myself, because by then I kind of gained a recognition in our battalion as being a really solid non-commissioned officer, and I was a corporal and a sergeant, and people knew that I was doing the thing and doing it right, and training good soldiers, and my soldiers were performing. The squad that I was in while we were deployed to Iraq was extraordinarily good. Like we got to the point where we knew exactly what we needed to do, and we knew that everyone else what they were going to do in that squad. Man, so we operated like a fine-tuned machine. It was I would, if I had to go back, I would go back with them, and that's the only way I would go.
That's awesome.
If I could be surrounded with those dudes, even now as we're old and decrepit and living life on caffeine and ibuprofen, I'd still, what? Let's gear up.
Let's do it.
Let's kid up. Let's go out and do the thing. I know that you can still operate a Peel and a Humvee just as good as anyone else.
Heck yeah, man.
But no, like
our tactics would be strategic in nature because of our wisdom and our old age.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. We see the battlefield a lot differently than when you're coming into it at 18 or 19 years old, right? Yeah. You just, when you're sitting at, late 30s or early 40s, it's a different deal. The battlefield is different, and you're aware of the consequences more, and you can help be strategic in making decisions for people, and then you're actually more effective as a team.
Oh yeah. You get to that point, and it's like replicated in war movies and stuff like that. But it's only so much that can be understood about it, because at the end of the day, like when you're over there and you are just, life just sucks and it is just drained out of you. Like I got to Kuwait, I think 2 days before my 19th birthday. So I celebrated my 19th birthday in Kuwait, and then I celebrated my 20th birthday in Iraq, in Diyala, and it was cool. But there was between the squad and the group of people that surrounded me, there was such a brotherhood that it's still there. Like I still have the relationships with those guys today, and they're just solid people. Yeah. And we know that if my buddy Carlos in Florida calls me at 3 a.m. And he needs something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to move heaven and earth to try to make his situation better for him, because that's what we did then. And it just continues. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned Carlos. You've got Albert, Dave, Mike, Pat, Carlos, Nolan, Kevin, Frank, and a few other guys that made the difference.
Oh yeah. So Frank. So when we first deployed, we had a really pretentious commander.
Yeah, pretentious. That's
that might be a good word. Like she was a West Pointer.
Yeah.
Which nothing against West Point. It's a great military institution.
Sure.
But some people let it get to their heads.
So it's based on personality too.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not everybody's. There are people that want to go to West Point that are humble and great, and there are others that can be kind of looking down their noses at you.
And that's regardless of institutions.
Yes. No. Yeah.
That's post-secondary institutions.
Correct.
Or businesses or high school
or
whatever.
Just general life.
Yeah. Just general life. So we deployed with her, and it was just a miserable experience for the first 10 months.
Yeah.
Or no, because we were there for 15 months. So yeah, about 8 months or so, and then she had fulfilled her commander's time, so she was going to go move up and be a staff officer. So we got a new commander, and Frank was freaking awesome.
I just love that Frank.
Yeah,
So my grandpa's name was Frank, so Frankie. But yeah, I love that.
Frank's
It's a good name.
He was such a solid dude.
Yeah.
And now he's actually on I think a short list to be colonel.
Really?
Colonel Frank Dennis now.
No way.
Full bird.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dude.
he's
That's awesome.
freaking rocking it.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Cool.
he was freaking awesome, and just his approach to leadership and the way that he would challenge us, but also mentor us at the same time. It was really good. And so so my squad was in charge of kind of the commander safety. So whenever he wanted to go out and visit the platoons that were doing the training of the IPs, and they were out there doing IPP operations and going out and facilitating, building up a police force that did not exist and does not, it still exists to this day.
Yeah.
I'm sure. No offense, Iraq, but
man,
if I could turn back time. Anywho, so we would take him out, and we would go out. I did the math with Nolan, who was my team leader, who was phenomenal. Just like his brain. I don't know what was so awesome about it, but he just knew so much. He had so much wisdom, and he was kind, but also he could mess you up too.
Yeah.
He just had to give me a look every once in a while, like Marquell. I know.
Don't
sorry,
push
thank
it.
you.
Don't push it.
Yeah. But no, it was just all of my leadership from that point on was just phenomenal. Kidder was our squad leader, and we ran over 364 missions. Yeah. Over the time that we were there, just combat patrols, or cordoning, and
So it's like you're mentioning the qualities of leadership in these guys, and so you're starting to identify different qualities in each of these guys, like Frank and then Nolan, and you probably pulled from many of the other guys, and and you have leadership qualities that you probably developed and then had already.
Yeah.
And so just the awareness to see that, identify it, and then apply it to your own life and how you can be a better leader is also really awesome.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Good job with
that's one of the the great things about the military is that natural leadership is just ingrained in you, and you have so many great examples that can surround you throughout your experience that you can't help but get some of that to rub off on you. And it's really kind of shaped the way that I approach, especially when I got out and went to college and then ended up in post-secondary education. How am I going to communicate with my students? How can I inspire within them a common goal that we can tackle either as a class or as a student ambassador or any of the other programs that I launched and all that stuff. And even to this day, how do I communicate with people?
Yeah.
How do I go about this conversation? Because I certainly cannot communicate to them in the same way that I would have when I was in the military. Although many times I would like to.
You wouldn't have a job, and you'd probably be in jail or litigated like crazy.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I find that like that's common with coaches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I loved all of my coaches in baseball and in college and things like that. But man, football, basketball, baseball. If I ever said anything like that in a workforce environment, workplace environment right now,
Golly.
there's no way I'd be employable. I'd be litigated. It would not be good.
Yeah.
But so sports and military are unique in that.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you, and that is, with all the people that maybe you look at through the military for leadership, do you see a common denominator being like this servant type of leadership, lead by example?
100%.
Is that a common denominator?
Yeah, for good leadership.
Yeah, for good leadership.
See,
because there's.
And that
go
was
ahead.
the issue.
I'm about to say something that might offend Indiana folks, but yeah,
okay.
no, go ahead.
Okay, let me go first because
okay.
we don't want to get.
Yeah, no. Not right out the gate. No, but I do want to. I'll speak about this just as far as leadership is concerned.
Yeah. So like our initial leader, our first commander, like she did not consider the soldiers' well-being. It was only the mission that mattered. Like there was a time when like it was my responsibility as a driver of the Humvee, which that was my role because the rank I had and all of that.
Right.
To make sure that my Humvee worked and was in perfect working order. Yeah. Well, sometimes machines break down.
Right.
And sometimes air conditioning does not work in the machine. So it could have been working fine the day before.
So I'm trying to figure out, air conditioning is essential to the defense mechanism and offense mechanism of.
Yes, it is 100% vital when the temperature in the desert is 140 degrees.
Yes, for those that don't know, yes, air conditioning does matter.
Yes, it does. And if you're a commander who forces their soldiers to forego taking it down to the motor pool and getting a quick fix taken care of because it was working the day before, you should probably just stop what you're doing and reevaluate your priorities.
Correct.
Because we went out that day and she made us go out without the AC working in my vehicle.
Yeah.
It was 140 some odd degrees outside.
Right.
And when you add on to that the 20-degree temperature difference from inside a baking vehicle
and a bunch of dudes that are
and then our company medic came over to us because he would always go out on mission with us because we wanted to make sure that we need to have the best medic with us because
sure. Well,
we're priority. We've got a commander, and we're going to be going and visiting the platoons anyway.
Yeah, you don't want the worst medic.
That'd be fine. No, not at all. So we went out there. He came over, and we had been probably on mission 8 hours at this point. And typically our missions lasted 12 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Depending, sometimes more.
Right.
And so we were out there, and he brought his thermometer over, set it in my vehicle. It was 170 degrees inside my vehicle.
107.
So we account that I'm wearing probably close to 80 pounds of gear and a bulletproof vest. Yeah. Inside my vest, add another 20 degrees.
That's just insane.
That was my body temperature.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I went over to my commander's vehicle because they still had AC.
Right,
so we would rotate out. I'd go sit with them. And I was pounding water.
Well, oh yeah, because you're sweating it out as fast as you're drinking it.
The bad thing about pounding a lot of water in a short period of time is that your body can only handle so much water.
That's
then
right.
Your electrolytes get off balance and you have hyponatremia.
And there you go. Yeah. Every 5 minutes is 7 ounces or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah. I think so.
I'm just pulling that out.
A quart every 2 hours, I think, is what we tried to always have.
Yeah.
And I went over to my commander's truck and I passed out. So I was like leaving to go back to my truck. I was not feeling well. And I ended up just falling down into the dirt. And the last thing I heard was Mike Moore. He was like yelling out on the radio, get the medic, Marquell's down. And so they came out, dragged me into the IP station, stripped off all of my clothing. So I'm butt naked in the middle of an Iraqi police station.
Oh my gosh, trying to cool you down.
I think I have heat stroke.
Well, yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, I probably do have heat stroke. But then our medic was like, how much water have you drank? I was like, I don't know, freaking 8-10 bottles.
Right.
Quarts at that point.
Oh,
he was like, holy crap. He was like, so he's now trying to force feed me a salty chili mac MRE, which typically I'd be like, heck yeah, give me that chili mac. That's the best thing in the box. And so, oh my gosh, it was horrible.
Oh,
but
because he knew you needed you needed those electrolytes.
Yeah, so they put me in the back rear seat. The medic took over for my driving responsibilities for the rest of the day, and we exfilled back to base because they were almost ready to call a medevac.
Yeah, that's scary stuff, man. That's not fun, not cool at all. Yeah. I had a similar situation, not in the military, but in baseball in southern Arkansas, down by Louisiana. Northwestern kid out there, and it's 100 degrees and it's super humid. As soon as you step outside, you're sweating the entire day. And every practice, I started having like hallucinations, getting really dizzy. Oh yeah,
that's when it's starting to go.
And I went from leading the running from poles and stuff to being the last guy, and the coaches were just all over me about it. And I was like, I'm just not feeling good, and and I'm full like baseball pants, the whole get up, and I'm just sweating the entire time because it's so hot and humid, and literally I would weigh myself before practice, then weigh myself after practice. I was losing 8 pounds of water, 8 pounds of weight, and it was all like a gallon weighs 8 pounds. Yeah. So I was losing a gallon during our 3 to 5 hour practices.
So you're telling me in order for me to cut weight right now,
yes,
to look fit and please my wife, and
yes,
and make sure that I look good when I wear a suit and stuff. I gotta go sit in a sauna.
That's one way to do it. Absolutely. You can do that by fasting as well. So noted.
Not a long-term solution.
But when your body is shutting down and you don't sleep because it's waking you up to keep you alive. Oh yeah. I was at that point, and I literally had to take about a week to 2 weeks off from baseball because of that. I had to hydrate, and I had to get potassium, and then I had to get salt pill and the whole thing because it's just it sneaks up on you, that heat stroke stuff. So
I got 24-hour quarters, so I wasn't allowed to leave my bed.
Okay.
And and then we got back to refuel, and my commander came over to me and she was like, Marquell, what the bleep was that? I was like, and at that point I'm like vomiting on the side of my truck. I'm like, ma'am, and I go to attention. I still try to do the military thing. I'm like, ma'am, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. But I guess I drank too much water. But it was really, really hot.
Quick.
Yeah,
too quickly.
Too quickly.
Yeah, too quickly.
But you know what? It's 170 degrees, lady. Come on.
Yeah, right.
But the difference in leadership is that she led that way.
Right.
But as soon as she was gone, our entire unit dynamic changed.
Right.
Better. And that's because Frank's style of leadership was that of servant leadership. It was he was not afraid to get down there and dig in the ditch with us and do the hard thing with us.
Right.
And he would be the first one to do it. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, it seemed like every point of leadership that I had in the military kind of fit that model, which is rare to have that type of an experience because, when you're dealing with type A personalities.
Oh yeah,
it's hard to find people who will humble themselves enough and to put others before themselves.
Amen, and have enough empathy to understand that, and then an ability to communicate that, and then not swing over to being a doormat. And stuff. So what I was going to say earlier about servant leadership and just two different leadership styles is I think all I have to do is say this. So you've got Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
And then you got John Wooden.
Throw a chair.
So Bobby Knight, John Wooden. Do I need to say anything else? Who's John Wooden?
For those of us who are Hoosiers but are not.
So he happens to be one of the most winningest basketball coaches of all time.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
At UCLA.
Gotcha.
Johnny Wooden, and he was from Indiana.
Well, yeah.
He's an Indiana guy, and so you've got, IU, Bobby Knight, throwing chairs, and a certain type of leadership style, which does work. It is successful. It does produce results.
You can whip people up hills.
You sure can, and there's something to be said for that. Exactly. There's something to be said for that because I had coaches the same way, and the majority of my coaches were that way. And then there's other coaches that maybe employ a different type of tactic and communication that it employs more servant leadership and presenting a different way of presenting ideas for people to understand and conceptualize, and then they straight up will go through a brick wall for you without firing a bullet.
Oh yeah,
if you will.
Well, we always
know what I'm saying?
We always told Frank that we'd go to hell with a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Like, sir, if you're leading us, we'll charge you the gates of hell with a squirt gun. Dude.
I love that.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. There's some empowerment with the latter part of sort of like a Johnny Wooden. There's empowerment to go out and versus a dictator.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and
somebody
I
telling
think,
you what to do all the time.
yeah, and when you consider like military style leadership, you almost need to have a balance. You need
Ideally, it would be a balance.
Actually, throughout many different types of leadership to certain degrees on how tyrannical you can be.
Right.
Is you have to be able to flip the switch, and that's something that I kind of learned how to do with my soldiers. It was like, you know what? If you guys really mess up, I'm going to really put you through it.
Right.
But you're not going to mess up that same way again.
Right. Exactly.
But if you're doing a good job, you know what? Sham. Go sit on the smoke tree, take a break.
Right.
Do your thing. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go talk to the platoon sergeant and see when the heck we can go home. Because I'm just as frustrated as you, and we're all in this together. And yeah.
All right. I love it. And we touched on that, some leadership stuff. And so let's see. Did we cover some of this stuff here? The big army,
so.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. What was the driving force? Let's see. Where did you meet your wife?
Ooh,
Yeah. Tell me about your wife, kids, family stuff. Where did you meet your wife?
So
all that kind of stuff. And we'll take a few minutes to do that.
Are you ready for Nicholas Sparks?
No, not at all. Not we can't go that quick. We got to go slower to that.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was like, how much time we got? I can draw this out into a full length.
Oh my gosh.
Let's picture.
Summarize.
Okay,
summarize.
So
bullet points.
when I was in the Army,
Yeah.
my wife, my now wife, she was at IU. So she would come home over the summer, and she had this nice little part-time gig that she would work at the local YMCA.
Cool.
And my grandpa just happened to volunteer and work out at that YMCA.
Awesome.
So she became extraordinarily close with my grandpa. And my grandma, she would go over to their house and study on their back porch, and, drink iced tea and chat with my grandpa. And I don't, it's just, they had a beautiful relationship.
Right.
And one day, since I was named for my grandfather,
right,
she was trying to find him on Facebook. She was like, Gramps, you seem like you're a cool dude.
Yeah.
You probably have Facebook. I'm going to send you a friend request.
Right.
And he was like, well, no. And so she ends up finding me.
You instead.
Yeah.
Huh?
And so she was like, Gramps, is this you when you were young? And I was like, he was like, no, that's my grandson. And she was like, should I send him a friend request? Yeah, exactly. Best wingman ever.
Gramps.
Gramps. I knew that.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, she sent me a friend request, and on his behest, because I think he said something along the lines of, he's in the Army, and I don't think he has many friends. Which I was like, he didn't really.
Truth.
I mean,
Truth,
good wingman,
man.
but he didn't necessarily set me up like the best way. But yeah, it works. So
good job.
he helped me play the sympathy card, I guess. So she sent me a friend request, and I was like, at that point in the military, I was focused on my career. I was like, I've been around a while, and did my thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done with that. Let's focus on it, and let's do the thing. And so I was like, I responded to her with like, okay. Like she sent me like a nice long couple paragraphs of like, hey, this is me. This is how I know who you are. This is why I'm sending you a friend request.
That's par for the course though. Like in man-woman relationships, it seems that
it's always like when you least expect it and you're not looking for it.
Right.
That's when it
happens. And then you've got double or triple the language, and then the dude's like, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm totally checked out right now, and I don't know if you're like a 40-year-old Nigerian who's trying to catfish me, and get $500 from me to like send to you so I can get an inheritance.
Probably crossed your mind.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's what happened because I remember so vividly. I was sitting next to Mike. We were at our apartment in Waipahu, and which is on Oahu. And so I was sitting there, and I'm on Facebook, so I'm reading this thing. I'm like, Mike, check this out. So he reads it. He's like, dude, that's some 40-year-old guy that's friends with your grandpa
in a basement.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I don't know, man, but I'm just gonna respond. Okay. He's like, all right, cool. I was like, play it safe.
So then what happened?
So yeah, at that point, it was like I had just volunteered to go to Afghanistan. So I was gearing up with a new unit to go to our sister company, 552nd Infantry Company, and I was gearing up and getting ready to go do that. So I was trying to get my head in the game, and she was like always in the background of my mind. She's like, I wonder if that is real. I wonder. So I messaged her back, and we ended up, started chatting back and forth. I was praying deep in the back of my mind, oh God, this better not be a catfish.
You'll never be able to live it down.
No,
not at all. And then blackmail after that,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then blackmail.
Oh, great, I'm broke.
Yeah.
And my heart's broken.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk to all your military buddies.
Yeah. So.
Or give me $500.
Yeah. I was like, oh, there's $500.
Yeah.
I guess we'll be eating next week.
Geez.
But no, so we started talking, started Skyping, so I finally was able to verify this is a real, attractive, beautiful woman, and all right, cool.
Yeah.
And we were just like friends, just like good friends. I gave her advice, and she listened and stuff, and it was just really a cool relationship, and
it blossomed into
then it just started to blossom, and it was funny because she also said the day that she messaged me that she told the Gramps that I might just have to marry this boy, or something like that. And little did she know that's how it was going to go.
Yeah. When did that happen?
So
how quickly did it go?
I came home on block leave, so that you get it like a month off before you deploy. So they send you home, get your affairs right, see your family, or go to Spain and hedonism and all that crap.
Right.
Or whatever. And so I went home, and she met all of my family before she met me, and she was still standing at the airport. So I got off the plane. Luckily I had a layover in Denver because I was like, I need to go get some cologne because I don't want to be airplane stink. So I went to a little kiosk, spent way too much money on like a little vial of cologne. I was like, all right, before I land, I gotta make sure I go
some Brut or
something. I gotta go smoke.
Old Spice.
It was something good. Imperial something anyway. So I went and did that. I was like, all right, I smell good. And so she had met all of my crazy family before she met me, and she was still there. So I was like, all right, she's a keeper. She's passing this test. So and she spent that whole month with me. We were just hanging out.
That's awesome.
And we went to Cubs games. We went to Chicago for like a long weekend, and we went to we went down to French Lick, Indiana, and stayed at the West Baden, and just spent time together. It was awesome, and that's really when like the love that we'd already felt for one another through our long distance conversations and things. It was solidified at that point.
Awesome.
And so I went back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I had been going through some medical things too on the sidelines because when you get ready to deploy, they do all this screen to make sure are you physically fit? Do you have everything?
Is your head right?
Yeah, is your head right? Is your body right? And my body it wasn't right anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
So by that point, a lot of wear and tear. And so I was kind of disappointed because I was then faced with the option of reclassing in the military or taking a med board and just getting out. And I was like, well, crap. So, and I just volunteered to go to Afghanistan in my company. I was training these soldiers. So I ended up going back with them and doing a 2-month rotation at the National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California, which is in Death Valley. And it's kind of like the stateside province of Iraq. So they make totally,
I've heard.
They bring in locals from Iraq to populate the cities that they have set up there. We go through it, we practice. And I barely made it through that. Like, it was just I was in a ton of pain, and I still have pain every single day.
Right.
But I was like, I got to the point where I realized if I deploy, I'm not going to be able to go up these mountains. I'm not going to be able to do these dismounted patrols because Iraq was easy. as far as in comparison to Afghanistan, because it's a mountainous country.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah.
If I got to carry all this gear, if I got to do all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to end up getting somebody killed or getting myself killed.
Yeah, you got to be healthy like a mountain goat, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I was not mountain goat material.
No.
It was to the point like where we would run up hills and mountains in Hawaii, like I would start collapsing on my way back up. Like I just could not do it.
Yeah.
I needed time to recover.
Right.
And I didn't have any of that time
Yeah.
afforded to me. So
Sure.
the doctors came out. They're like, "Look, we've done X-rays, we've done all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're either gonna have to reclass into some type of a desk position
Mhm.
somewhere, which is fine. You
Sure.
still be in the military, but you're not gonna
Yeah.
deploy again."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Well, if I can't go to war with my soldiers,
Then,
what's the point?"
well, yeah, and you met this.
Yeah, and I've got this great girl
Yeah.
now, and I'm like, so I was like, well, maybe it's time for me to go.
Right.
So I opted in for the med board, and they were like, all right, well, here's the processing. So I started going through all that, which is a terrible, terrible headache.
Mm-hmm.
Do not recommend.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Yeah.
If you ever want to go, make sure you take care of your back, and your knees, and your feet, and your hips.
So basically, just don't get hurt.
Yeah, just don't get messed up.
Well,
Don't get
excuse
messed
me,
up.
injured. Are you hurt or are you injured? I've been asked that many times playing sports. Are you hurt or are you injured?
No,
And I'm
I'm injured, and it
I mean,
hurts.
yeah. I'm just hurt, coach. I'm hurt, coach. Well, get up. Well, I can't. Why? Because I think I blew my knee out. That's an injury. But I could still do it.
You didn't
know,
specify
like,
it. Yeah,
that's
that's what I did for so
that's
long.
well, exactly, and that's what gets you really hurt.
Yeah.
So use your brain,
Yeah, and that's something that
Not
I didn't have.
your, like,
All I had was
bravado and
all I had was
pride.
bravado.
Yeah.
I did not have much brain, and I still, I'm
yeah, work.
that's a work in progress.
It is.
But that's what it was for me. Is like
Uh-huh.
I would get hurt, but I wouldn't do anything about it. And basic
Mhm.
training,
Yeah.
we were doing combatives,
Yeah.
and this big kid, I don't know why they paired me up with like the biggest dude, but he kicked the crap out of me, broke my nose. I didn't go to medical because then they were like, well, if you go to medical, you might lose a day of training, and then you're not going to be able to continue this program. So I was
Oh,
like,
geez.
well, crap.
We'll just.
So I went into
Crack
the
it and throw
bathroom,
some
and I
on.
cracked it and put ice on it for the rest of the day, and that was it.
Wow.
And that's why my nose looks messed up.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, why is it still crooked?
Yeah, what the heck's
You
wrong
know,
with your face, dude? It's like, oh, well, this big boy kneed me in the face a long time ago.
So when did you guys get married?
Yeah, so we got
Yeah.
married. It's kind of funny. So,
Married and kids.
so
Yeah.
she came out to Hawaii when I was on, I did deploy, so I was still on the island. I was doing all my out processing. She came out to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and then that's when I popped the question.
Gotcha.
So I took her up
Okay.
to Kaina Point,
Uh-huh.
which is translated as the leading place of souls. And I had this
Oh,
whole
okay.
like speech prepared,
Uh-huh.
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna really woo her with the
Mhm.
speech. She's not gonna be able to say no. It's
Right.
sunset, the sun
Yeah.
crested perfectly on the horizon when I popped
Yeah.
the question. Beautiful. And so I say all these things, and she's like, what? She's just like
She's like-
zoned out, not paying attention.
Look
So
at
I
this view.
I literally just I took the ring out of my pocket. I just opened up the box and I just sat there
And you
I
wait-
waited for
you-
her to notice.
No way.
Yeah.
Did
Oh
she?
yeah. Oh yeah. She knows. She was like,
And
then
then
she
and
freaked
then was
out.
that-
And then,
yeah,
it was great.
that's so
It was
cool.
perfect.
Cool.
And then,
So how long when you met to that point? That was quick.
about 6 months. Yeah.
6 months,
Yeah.
guys. 6 months.
Yeah,
All right.
That's military time
Yeah,
right there.
right.
You meet the right one, you go for it.
That's right. And then how long after that was kids?
So,
And your
oh my goodness
firstborn,
sakes. Yeah,
yeah.
we didn't have. So we got married in 2011.
Yeah.
So that was 2009. I proposed.
Mhm.
2011 we did the thing,
Mm-hmm.
got married,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2016 we had Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah, my little boy.
And you got 3 of them: Jacob, Sam, and Eleanor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, those kids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And Jacob and my daughter Indy go to school together.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah,
cutest
it's-
freaking thing
oh,
in
it
the
is
world.
amazing. I just love it.
It's
You got,
like, man,
you know, you got Sammy and then my daughter Addie. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, they're in the same class.
And
It's worked out.
Yeah.
So
And then
Crazy.
Eleanor is just got you wrapped around her finger.
yeah, not this wrap, but like zip tie,
Yeah.
duct tape.
No, yeah, you're
super
not
glue.
you're never gonna have
No,
yeah, and you
I'm
don't ever
perfect-
want to let it go.
I'm
Yeah.
perfectly comfortable there.
Totally.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah, I'm a girl dad and I love it. It's softening my heart a lot.
Isn't
And
it funny?
oh,
like,
it
how-
is.
Because when I
Yeah.
had boys, I was like, yeah, I can.
Oh,
I got my
this.
sons.
I got this. Right.
We're gonna.
Exactly.
I'm gonna turn them into little warriors,
Right.
and I'm still trying.
Yeah.
Um,
And they will.
Yeah,
They are.
they'll They're kids,
They're
little kids.
Yeah.
And but man, when Ella was born,
Mhm.
oh my goodness sakes.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the boys won't ever get it until later. My older brother, me, and then my younger sister, and so we were that way. And you don't get it until
until it happens. You're
until
like,
it happens.
and even like
Exactly.
as it's happening, you're like, well, I could still, I'm still a tough guy, it's
Right.
gonna be fine. But no, you're not anymore.
Exactly.
You're a big puddle of love.
Right.
Cuddles. That's all you ever want to do.
That's right. That's
So,
right. I love it, and it's just you guys have a great family, a great story. It's really cool, and Nora and I have really enjoyed getting to know you and the family over the last, I don't know, 6-8 months or whatever it's been.
I mean,
it's been
It
quick.
hasn't been that long, but
No.
it feels like we've
Known each other
forever,
Exactly.
which is awesome. And those are the kind of things where you look back on your life and you're wondering, like, why didn't I do 18 X-ray? Why
Right.
didn't I go Special Forces?
Yeah.
Because after Afghanistan, I made a deal with my battalion commander. He was like, "You're volunteering to go. You come back from Afghanistan.
Mhm.
I'll sign off and put you through Ranger School."
Right.
I was like, "Awesome."
Yeah.
I was like, "After Ranger School," he was like, "Come back. We'll put you in Special Forces selection
Mm-hmm.
process."
Right.
And then you're gonna be on that road. So I was still like career minded even as I was like trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what my next step was in the military. But God intervened. It was just God used
Oh,
my
absolutely.
grandpa, and he brought me my bride, and
Mhm.
he brought me home,
Absolutely.
which is crazy
He had
because his hand was there the entire time. And
exactly.
I didn't know it then, but looking back now, it's like, man, it's insane. And even now with
Yeah.
the kids in school, like how do these relationships happen? How do they start?
Exactly.
How does this hapen? It's
Yeah.
all just coming
Yeah.
together so beautifully.
Just a plan he's got a plan and a purpose for your life and my life, and brought our lives together, and I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to that. And it's just like,
It's fun to watch.
it's just not karma. Nothing
No,
just
it's not.
happens just because
No.
of some sort of chemicals coming together, and it all just kind of happens. It's way
There's a
more
whole
spiritual
lot
than that.
more to it than
Yeah,
that,
for
yeah.
sure. So I'll kind of transition. Why do you do what you do now? So you get married, you have kids, and you're here in Central Indiana still.
Oh, yeah.
And can you kind of go from what happened from the military to then your professional life now? Kind of maybe take a few minutes and talk about that.
Yeah. So after military, you have your GI Bill. So you're like, education, earned it. I'm gonna go do it. So I being homeschooled, I wasn't able to go directly into a 4-year college. So I started at Ivy Tech.
Okay.
Got essentially my associate's degree, all my transfer credits done, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna save the government some money. There you go.
Right.
And then I transferred to Ball State because at Ivy Tech I was like, I started as a criminal justice major. I was just gonna do criminal justice degree, stay in law enforcement, but then I had this really cool art history teacher, and I've always loved history. And this guy was just so great in the classroom, and he really was able to take, because it's art history, but it's not it's a cool class. I mean, some cool art and stuff you get to look at, but other than that, it's like, So, but he was just a really good teacher, so I was like, I want to do what he does. I could see myself doing that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna go be a high school history teacher.
Okay.
So who's got the best education program in the state?
Yeah. Ball State.
So I transferred to Ball State.
For sure.
Got into Teachers College, and then I was a double major doing history and education. Set myself up well. But then I started getting the teaching curriculum.
Yeah.
And it was just like I had to take the same class over and over and over. There's all these cultural awarenesses and all these different classes. I was like, okay, I took this last semester. This just has different numbers next to it.
Right. It's the same material.
And I'm arguing with my professors, and not just in those classes, but
Yeah.
all my classes, because I'm like the class dad. I'm like 23 years old.
Right.
Everyone else is like 18, 19 years old. They're like, hi, Dad. And I'm like, shut up. So
at 23. How about now?
now it's like, oh man.
Wow, look at this guy. He's old.
Yeah. So I did like some substitute teaching at some local schools, and I just realized, high school is just not the right fit. Not the type of interactions that I want to have with students. That's not where I fit. Like I fit with the 18 to early 20s.
So you fit into college.
Yeah, exactly. So
professorship.
So I graduated. I decided I'm not going to take the CASA exam. I'm not going to become a teacher. I'm not going to do all that crap because I'm not going to stay there And
Right.
I learned from doing my research that I'm not going to make the kind of money that I'm going to need to make to sustain the lifestyle that I'd like to have with my family.
There you go. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to get into post-secondary education. So
Okay.
I landed a job at Ivy Tech.
Ivy Tech,
doing,
okay.
Yeah, doing college admissions.
Yep.
Part-time just to get started and get
Yeah.
my feet wet. And like in 2 months, I redid their entire kind of like their employee handbook.
Mhm.
So I revamped all of that for them because
Yeah.
I was working at a campus that was just barely like still getting
So you
off
gotta
the
be-
ground.
Right.
Now it's phenomenal. It's doing fantastic.
Mhm.
They just opened up Ivy Tech's nursing program
Gotcha.
at Hamilton County campus.
Oh,
So
cool.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
And so I did that for a while, but then they knew I wanted to be full time at some point. So
Right.
the honors college at Ivy Tech
Yeah.
got wind of that, and they were like, "Well, we need somebody to help us with our admissions."
Okay.
So they pulled me over. I started full time with them,
Yep.
and it was a third party organization that was contracted to build the honors program at Ivy Tech.
Let's see.
Yeah, so
Made the jump.
I jumped ship.
Yeah.
I worked for Quad Learning for a while,
Okay.
a few years there. Really learned the ins and outs of student recruitment and student
Mhm.
life. Built a national student ambassador program at a few different community colleges around the United States.
Mhm.
And then I left that to go work for another university up in northern Indiana. And I helped them with their admissions. I became a campus director down here in Indianapolis.
Mhm.
And that's when I started associating with chambers around
Gotcha.
Indiana.
So
That's when I
that's
first learned about it.
Okay.
And I got really engaged with the Noblesville Chamber because it was very welcoming. It was really easy
Mhm.
to just engage. Bob Dubois, our current CEO, he was
Yeah.
CEO at that time.
Yeah.
It was really easy to just find a place where I could connect with people.
Yeah.
Because what I was doing for the institution was their graduate and professional studies program. So
Mhm.
additional certifications, graduate programs, doctoral programs, and things like that,
Mhm.
marketing them here in central Indiana.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make headway in doing that because,
Yeah.
in Hamilton County, the percentage of, college graduates is so
It's
high.
Very, very high. I don't know what it is, but it's high.
And
yeah.
It's an affluent county, so most
That's
of the
right.
individuals there, they've either already got their post-secondary degree and
Mhm.
another degree on top of that,
Right.
or they're already working a really great job and they're not interested.
Right. They're not going to go back and
Yeah.
get some sort of certification. Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw the writing on the
Yeah.
wall that it wasn't really going anywhere,
Yeah.
and the administration at the main campus was more focused on undergraduate.
Mhm.
So I tried to marry the two programs together to try to facilitate some type of undergraduate transition pathway from Ivy Tech to this institution,
Right.
and then
And then-
the post-secondary stuff and the graduate degrees on top of that, complementing that, because
Right.
most of those students were out of state anyway.
Right.
So I attempted
That's great,
that.
man.
They didn't bite it.
No,
they were like,
they
"No,
didn't.
we're not going to go that route." So I was like, "All right, well, I can't do any more good at this institution."
Mhm.
And so I started talking to Bob about,
Well,
what could this be
right.
if I were to jump ship, and he was like, "We can make it work." So,
Awesome.
And we made it
Wow.
work, and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since.
And you-
I mean,
yeah.
higher ed is awesome. If you're
Mhm.
going to pursue a degree,
Mhm.
go for it. Do your research though.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the things.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
There's so many programs out there, but you got to look at the accreditation. You have to look at
Yes.
transfer credits if you're going to be utilizing them.
Absolutely.
Going
And then,
from community college to a four-year
Mhm.
institution.
oh,
There's
I
a lot of intricacies. that you have
Oh,
to pay attention to.
totally. Being somebody that went through 2 junior colleges, one in San Mateo, California, then Eastern Arizona.
Yep.
And then having to go to a 4-year school and then multi-state and crossing you
Oh,
talk about I went to 3 colleges basically in college, and I was a baseball player, and there's a long story behind that I'll share maybe on your podcast
Yeah.
when you launch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tom's working on developing something there. So yeah.
It's been developed.
it's been
It's just a
developed.
matter of
Yeah,
when am I going to get into the studio and get this thing done?
exactly. And nothing like accountability and people to press you into that, right?
Yeah, I know, right? So, Under the Sun podcast coming soon to a podcast platform that you enjoy.
Yes. Under the Sun, SON.
SON. Yes.
SON.
So there's a play on words there because we're going to talk
Totally.
about everything under the sun in light of a Christian worldview.
Amen. I love it. It's going to be a fascinating podcast, and it's going to be really successful, and I know it.
Episode
job.
1 is going to be.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun.
it's gonna be in depth. Like we're gonna deep dive some things
depth
that you're gonna be
charge.
like, holy crap, my brain. Because that's where I am right now, like just doing some research. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. You know what though? You rip the Band-Aid off. I had a client of mine tell me about just rip the Band-Aid off, just get going. And entrepreneurial spirits like myself and other people like us, and he's definitely one of them. He was like, you know, we do our research,
Yep.
you know, we get after it. We research something, we figure it out. And then it's like those of us sometimes will want to pause and wait or think about when's the perfect time to actually do it.
Start
There
getting
is
in your
not.
own head.
Yeah, you do. And then the enemy gets in there and keeps you on the sideline. And there are times where you just need to just get out of the boat, take the leap of faith, step out, go do it.
Yeah.
And whether you fall flat on your face, you know, the good news is it won't kill you. You just get back up and keep going. Like, that's what all our training teaches us, whether it's athletics or in the military or life experience, the school of hard knocks.
Are you still alive?
You are.
Then everything's okay.
And then everything's okay.
Keep going.
Exactly. You know, I just have more bags under my eyes. I have more loads of laundry on my chest. But hey, you know, I just keep going. You know, and that's what we're gonna do tonight.
Just keep swimming.
Exactly. You'll eventually be halfway there, and then your choice is: do you turn back when you're halfway there? You just swim across the other side of the lake. You just go across. Just keep going. Don't look back. So the Under the Sun podcast, I'll definitely when it's linked or when it's launched or stuff, I'll put links out and I'll tie that together and help you out with that. Okay. Yeah, you bet. Anytime.
Let's get some West Coasters up in here.
Exactly. I would love that. Love that. Some Coronado Beach guys. That would be nice. You know, those dudes. Yeah, we can get that done hopefully. So you've talked about your wife, your family, your kids, all the way to the Noblesville Chamber. So, and then we're there.
So
and
the most rewarding thing that I found, because like I was a member of pretty much every chamber in Central Indiana, but like the community of Noblesville, and that's one of the reasons why we moved there, because we were like, you know, it's got a great downtown, it's historic.
It's got
like a facade that I love.
It's a Hamilton County seat too.
Yeah. So
that's
it's been around since
center.
1823. So this is the bicentennial.
Wow.
This
cool.
year
1823.
for Noblesville and Hamilton County.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that.
It's a big year.
Okay.
Big year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on. And we're going to have a solar eclipse. Oh, my goodness sakes. It's like a blessing.
Even the planets are saying
I know. They're like, hey, heck yeah, go Noblesville. So, but it's like the chamber was different in that, you know, I went to some chambers where it was like, if you're not wearing a three-piece suit, nobody's going to pay attention to you. Yeah. Or it's a crowd of like, 600 to 800 people at a luncheon, and you're like, I go to these things and I'm trying to make connections with the right people, but I can't find them. Yeah. They're not coming to me. I'm getting, I'm meeting people, which is great, but we can't do business together.
Right, I see.
So, but in Noblesville, it was just like, it didn't matter if you showed up in cowboy boots and blue jeans, like you just came off the farm, or you're a multi-million-dollar business banker walking in from your like high-rise office in downtown Indianapolis. Doesn't matter. You're still treated the same. Everybody is happy. Everybody's smiling for the most part. Depends on the election season.
Right. True. It is true.
Depends on how much they've been on like the Facebook chatters and things like that, and how much they pay attention to that, or how old do they really know the real things that are going on.
So if you're finding yourself disgruntled and frustrated every single day because you watch the news, then you probably shouldn't watch the news.
Yeah, just take a break.
Probably take a break. Yeah. Listen to a podcast. Hopefully we'll be more encouraging than that.
I mean, that's I took all of last year. I'd never listened to the news. I didn't watch any news. I was like, I'm just taking a break.
You felt better, didn't you?
Heck yeah, I did.
It's almost immediate. Like after
the sky stopped falling, and I was able to see the stars again. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, podcast.
So just listen to a podcast on the drive or something.
Yeah, listen to this one.
Yeah, this one, and Foster and Friends, and Under the Sun. You got it. Yeah. All right. See our plugs. You guys following that?
Gotta play the game. But so that's one of the things, and that's probably why I've stuck around the chamber and in Noblesville for so long, and that's why I went from kind of doing mostly business development and just sharing the chamber message and its benefits for business, because it's not just the luncheons and all of the events that are done. Those things are great and they're good to make connections, and the business networking is awesome, but there's a whole lot behind the scenes that we do that people don't really know about. Right. Like the business advocacy side, working closely with the city of Noblesville and then working with our larger chamber partners like the Indiana Chamber and the Indy Chamber to facilitate things at the State House that are directly influencing our downtown like entertainment district.
Right.
Like there's a bill in the House right now in the state that is all about downtown entertainment districts. So last year, Bob DeBois, our CEO, he went down to the State House and testified in support of it because it would allow events and things and activities for like to be an entertainment district. You allow open containers so you can walk from store to store without being stopped. So you can have your beer gardens, you can do that because we do the street dance.
Sure.
Noblesville Main Street does a fantastic job, and we partner really well with them and Nickel Plate Arts. So we encompass all of these different areas and different places of service, and we connect businesses with all the resources that they need.
Sweet.
And that's really the nuts and bolts of what happens behind the scenes at the chamber.
That's awesome.
We launch diversity coalition. We assist with running those things. We do training courses. I'm working now with a local company to try to get more leadership development coursework offered and things like that that we can then bring through the chamber to the community, that not only helps businesses grow, but it helps the entire economic footprint of Noblesville continue to develop.
Love it.
So it's
such a community mindedness, and it's really, really cool how you're doing that. You guys are doing
just that engagement and being involved. That's what kind of keeps me there, because it's
absolutely
like, this is just it fills your heart, because you're walking around the town that you call home.
Right.
You see the businesses that are flourishing. You see the ones that you're helping flourish. And then you see the people, and it's just, it all comes together, and it makes this, it's community.
Yeah.
And that's really what I found that's missing in a whole lot of places. We get away from it so easily.
Absolutely. And since COVID, it's...
and it's hard. And revamping it back up after, it's
rebuilding
been such a breath of like fresh air that, it'll never go away again.
No.
We learned our lessons.
Didn't we all? Absolutely.
No,
we're not doing that ever again over our dead bodies. So, no, hopefully not. But that's awesome. Yeah, I love it. All right, so we're coming to the end here, and we're gonna need to wrap up so that we stay on target here. But gosh, there's so much that we could talk about. I'm definitely gonna have to ask that you come back at some point. But let's kind of wrap this up with one of the things that I like to call favorites, just so people get to know you a little bit, right? So, what is your favorite streaming show, book, movie, concert, vacation, wine, bourbon, candy, food, restaurant, sport thing, or whatever you want? We'll spend a little bit of time talking about that, then we'll wrap up. But you wrote down a couple of things here, and I am right there with you about The Office.
Dude, The Office is...
I could keep watching it and watching it.
Yeah.
All the reruns.
And I like it because it has that same platform as Seinfeld, where there's no overall narrative that you're following.
Right. It's the show about nothing.
Exactly. It's just
but everything at the same time.
You get these episodes that are just classic.
Totally.
And they're so watching it thank God they were able to create it in that time in the world, because today you couldn't make The Office.
No.
That show just would not fly in popular culture today, sadly.
Yeah.
And
you might have to make a show called COVID. That would be very boring.
I think they did. It's called 23 Days Later or something like that.
It's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what they're
That's
doing.
That's right.
But the jokes don't get old. So that's my wife and I's kind of go-to show. Kids are in bed,
throw it on.
Tired, brainless activity.
Don't watch the news. Let's watch The Office.
Forget cable. We got Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And right now is
Netflix is not a sponsor.
It is not. No, Netflix is not.
Not yet.
Neither is Disney. Actually, none of them are sponsors, and if they were, we would be in a different place probably. I don't know. I kind of like the autonomy of being able to say whatever we want. Kind of Joe Rogan style. I kind of like that. Yeah. So you got book on here, The Pilgrim's Progress.
Yes.
What made you pick that one?
So
of all books.
Yeah, I know, of all books.
Of all books. And I know the Bible is very important to you.
Yes,
and me too.
That's the cheap de facto.
It is.
That's just the thing. That's the go-to.
Right.
Which if I had to pick the Bible, I'd say Romans is probably my favorite book.
Okay, yeah. There's 66 books. Romans is probably one of my top ones. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
the Pilgrim's Progress is just like this allegorical tale of the Christian journey
Mm-hmm.
through life and through. So you have like in the beginning, he's in this city of destruction, and he's the only one that realizes that the city's going to be destroyed. He's the only one that realizes that he's carrying around this huge burden on his back.
Yeah.
And then he meets a fellow follower, a witness. So it starts out that he's like reading the Bible and he's starting to realize that he's broken and lost, and he's trying to find a way to not be. And so he meets all these people along the way, and he starts on this really epic journey that is kind of a mix of Dante's Inferno mixed with Narnia, kind of. So he goes through all this, and it's beautifully toned, and I like it in the original way that it was written. It's just like this, because it's a poem. It just keeps going. Like it's really old school, ancient Grecian style of poetic authoring that just, for some reason, it resonates with me because I love history, and this book just kind of fills that role, and then it also has some really good lessons in there that I've read the thing so many times. It's awesome. Never gets old to me.
Right. No, I love it. Love it. Sorry, I was responding to our buddies.
Oh yeah.
We're late. And I was like, we're late. We're recording, and I just want to give a shout out to Josh and Dave.
Yes.
Thanks for being patient on that. We have
just have a round. It's fine.
Yeah, just have a round. We'll be there soon. Yeah, both dudes, law enforcement, and and we're gonna watch basketball second rounds today. So,
sweet.
But
if we get there, we might just sit here and talk about
Yeah, and we could. We
yeah.
absolutely could. So concert, the Pipeline, 2009 Hawaii,
Yes.
Rise Against.
So we had just gotten back from Iraq. We'd been on the island for about 3 months at that point. And then I'd never heard of Rise Against before. It's like this alternative rock band. And of course, back then that was the cool thing.
Yeah, alt rock, man.
Oh,
Yeah, I loved it. Oh, dated up. Yeah, West Coast.
Still do.
Oh, still cranking.
But we went there, and it was our commander was basically all of the key members of our squad that became really good friends. So we were all there just rocking out. It was a great time. I'll just never forget that concert.
Oh, totally. It's awesome. And so wine, obviously, like
dry wine.
Cabs, Merlot, Shiraz,
dry
dry reds. Love that. Bourbons, of course, Hotel Tango.
Yeah, Hotel Tango.
Yeah.
Proud member of the Noblesville Chamber of Commerce, and also their barrel reserve is actually really good.
Boom. I gotta have that.
Oh yeah. Oh, and they do it like a limoncello too.
Really? Oh,
so
really?
Oh yeah. Super good stuff.
Well, in 10 weeks.
And they're better known. Yeah, in 10 weeks.
In 10 weeks.
Yeah,
I know.
We gotta go meet those guys now because we gotta load up.
Exactly. we need to go. Candy, anything New Age, Skittles and Starburst, I love it. Yeah. They
chocolate
keep
is good too, but
yeah.
honestly, if I'm grabbing a handful of something, I want a handful of Skittles.
Yeah. Melts in your mouth, not in your hand. That's the chocolate M&Ms, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's M&Ms.
No, my favorite candy is Skittles. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Taste the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
Yeah, restaurants in Noblesville, all of them.
Oh yeah,
right.
Like in Noblesville, there's Indianapolis is such like a foodie scene. Just as
it is.
But Noblesville's got some really cool.
There's
places.
more and more I've noticed.
Yeah, because we've got
especially prior to COVID, there was more and more I was noticing, and then there's a little lull there, and now it's starting to come back.
Yeah, which I don't know when this is going to be released, but if there's actually, you should probably do this too.
Well, I'll release this as soon as I can. Okay. So in the next week.
May 10th.
Like next week.
Every year.
May 10th. Okay. Yeah.
Every year our chamber hosts the Taste of Business Made in Noblesville.
Okay.
So that is essentially we bring in a ton of restaurants,
right?
Like 12 to 15 or so, and they all do like their chef's favorites, like samples.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to walk around this business expo, tasting all of the cool food in Noblesville, all the restaurants that you haven't tried yet. You can sample them, and learn more about local manufacturers, what's being made, what's being built, connect a little bit, do some networking.
So May 10th.
Yeah, May 10th.
Dude, that's awesome.
Be at the Embassy Suites off of exit 210 on I-69.
Yeah.
4:30 the doors open, and then it'll be over by I believe 7 o'clock.
Yeah, there's a lot happening over there too. Yeah,
the developments over
that
there.
Corridor. I mean, it's a path of progress up there, and it is insane what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, well we've got the design for Innovation Mile that's going to be coming up along I-69. That's going to expand Noblesville's footprint. Well, that is all Noblesville, but it's going to be
just not all farmland.
it's going to be a huge innovation and technology hub, and then there's so many different developments that are happening right now. I mean, Noblesville Economic Development has done a fantastic job. We had $1 billion of private investment in Noblesville in the last 2 years, and those are numbers that were taken maybe last fall.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
It's who knows how many, at least $1 billion plus.
That's
at this
so
point.
cool. Awesome.
Fantastic.
It is fantastic. I love it. Well, it'll be exciting to see how that develops. Favorite sport that you say is football.
Yes.
I gotta
football.
agree. I love football, but I do love baseball more. I played it most of my life. So I'm a baseball guy, but I played sports when I was growing up, all three. So football, basketball, baseball, and there's just elements of each sport that I just love more than any of the others. And football is one of the ones where I feel like you're going to battle, you know, and it's more of like a physical. It's such a physical game, and it's like, there's strategy, but there's also like hitting each other. Just basketball, you can't just do. Totally, and baseball is different. It's a head game a lot more, you know. And
probably why I like watching baseball,
right?
But I don't follow the stats or anything. I'm just like, this is nice. Yeah, it's relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally. There's a vibe that goes with each sport. And this season is basketball, definitely. So we're going to definitely do that here in moments, actually, as we wrap up this. You love comedy, you love hunting, you love nature, you love music. What's your favorite music? Type of music? So, other than probably faith-based music.
Yeah, other than like faith-based, like, I love old hymns. Yeah. That is like my go-to. When they come on, it just hits you different.
Oh, totally.
I don't know what it is about it, but old hymns is what I grew up on. But yeah, I think my favorite kind of music would probably be alternative rock. Alt rock, a little bit of the heavier stuff too. I mean, like that. I think that came from the military because it was all like heavy metal, just
How about classic rock? Some of the classic stuff.
Oh God. Yeah. you give me an '80s hairband, I will rock out with the best of them. I don't have the hair. But
me neither.
I will still.
I'd be glistening.
If Journey started playing now, we karaoke. There we go.
Oh my gosh. And even some of the old like Metallica and all that other Leonard Skinner. I mean, just all this old stuff is just awesome too. I like all kinds of music. I'm with you. I like
classical like.
Beethoven, Bach, Chopin, Schreiber, Tchaikovsky's one of the best.
How deep do we want to go?
Luciano Pavarotti. How about that?
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, he's
Ave Maria, man. I mean, this has been so enjoyable. The time that we've gotten to spend together. This has been awesome.
It's like sitting around the dinner table.
Campfire, and we're doing it in front of mics, and you're sharing your life with us. I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you.
And I really appreciate it. I learned something new about you. I love just hearing your story, and hopefully it inspires other people to think about things and just to be encouraged about life in general. And I'm just blessed to have you here, man. So I'm excited about our future too, working together on some things, on some projects, and then raising our kids up.
Yes.
Which is probably the top priority that we have as men is raising our kids up and being great husbands to our wives and laying down our lives for them, and then also taking care of ourselves, and then helping other men see the way that maybe that they can go, and then they refine us like iron sharpens iron oftentimes. So thank you for being a good brother.
I love our conversation.
Absolutely. So check out our podcasts. Mine's Foster and Friends, and Tom's is gonna be Under the Sun, SON. And we're going to be sharing a lot of other men's stories and women's stories, families, stuff like that. We're going to be interviewing a lot of people over the next, hopefully generations, where podcasting and the platform of podcasting and internet blogging and YouTube and the age of technology will give us common folk a voice. And maybe it'll encourage and inspire you to do something and also stand up and have a voice and speak your mind about what you believe and share your life with others. Because after all, we need to create community and engagement, and not just be isolated on little islands by ourselves in our little neighborhoods where we don't communicate. COVID really did that to a lot of people. And we also don't always need to pay attention to all the what they call social media influencers. That's not the point of what we are. We're humbly coming forward and having dynamic intellectual conversations about real life stuff, and trying to have a platform to do that. So that's what Foster and Friends is about. That's what Tom's podcast is going to be about. That's what Matt Zappizzotti, another brother of mine, is going to be doing some stuff too, and Bob Lloyd through Fight Club and other ways, other mediums, so that we all can kind of unite around a nice community of people that are trying to go down the right path.
Yeah.
So
Find a tribe,
find a tribe, and hopefully we can be your tribe. So subscribe, like, follow, encourage, support, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Give us some feedback on how we might be able to do this better, and we're working on some things to make that happen. But until next time, thank you for tuning in, and we love you guys, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me, man.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. See ya.
See ya.
Hey everybody, I just want to give a shout out and thank my Uncle Jim Konopasek, aka Jim Kono, Kono, for allowing me to use his music on the Foster and Friends podcast. Jim Kono has newly released singles, an album, and is working on releasing another new album soon. You can check him out. Download his music on iTunes and other platforms. His latest album cover is entitled Truth, Half-Truths, and Lies. Let him know that Brent Foster of Foster and Friends sent you. And again, thank you, Uncle Jim, for sponsoring and being a big part of the Foster and Friends podcast.